Welcome to another weekend here on the platform. My name is Sam Omae.
The most difficult decision that they're taking a duk duniya a rayuwata to date.
The tragedy is not just that Issa Pantami did it. It is that he will get away with it, and with Buhari at the helm. It is not that he will get away with it. He has already. He decides the lives of good Muslims and Christians as a steward of the Constitution, whereas the good Muslims and Christians don't regard him as belonging to civilization. He will stand atop the dais and point the way. Surely, rather than bring a coalition of both faiths against the man, even this matter is separating Muslims and Christians. It is bifurcating faith and tribe. The Muslims, even in the south, are at their best mute. The ones in the north, at their worst, are repackaging him. In any society, Issa Pantami would not be attending a meeting of the Federal Executive Council, but languish in the court answering to charges. For those who say he has repented, let them look for someone lame to convince. He first denied and attacked a newspaper. A man of repentance would show remorse, not aggression. He should show proof and not take us for fools. He seemed to recant in his statement, but he did not seem to have regretted it. He did not condemn what he said. He merely excused them, even justified them. He was caught, and he said he was too young. Too young when he was past voting age, young when he was old enough to be a senator or minister or CEO of a company. He was not 18. He was in his 30s, older than when Gowon became head of state. What has he done to show a change of heart? No evidence. We cannot trust leadership on speculation. But facts have meant nothing in this matter. It has meant nothing to the presidency. Hence, Garba Shehu's remarks. He wrote to praise him, not to upbraid him. He wrote to accuse critics rather than face the facts. He wrote to defend him, not calm a bewildered nation. Some have said the security agents knew about the facts but shielded him. The Senate at the time of writing has not said it had any facts. That is why we must worry. The senators are paid to research and dig. The security agents are paid to do same. And the man fell through the cracks. Some said he did not. Garba Shehu did not address this. Persons like Pantami will continue to erupt and defy and get away with it. Sane societies heal themselves by providing a reckoning for them with public disgrace. They resign or are fired. They slouch out of sight, end up in jail, or are out of the limelight. Younger ones imbibe from the public ignominy the lesson that actions have consequences. But with Pantami off the hook, his legacy is clear.
There is an extraordinary drama going on television these days that Nigerians are either catching on to with avidity or should catch on to immediately. It is called Riona, which in Shakiri can be translated in many ways. On the surface, it means look at the road, but actually it means a call to vigilance. And this play, which taps into a deep cultural root in the Niger Delta, is replete with epic collapse and epic triumphs. It is a play that tells us about the dignity of the African culture and also the savagery of our past. I have here the people behind this extraordinary work, but I will start this weekend with the moving force of this play. And I have here the director of this show, and his name is none other than James Omae. You are welcome to this show.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You did Ajoche, which was also a great work of cultural exploration, which even made former Senate President David Mark, host you and your crew, and so on. What exactly went into making Riona?
Thank you very much for having me. I think that like every other year, every 2 years, Africa Magic always embarks on telling these epic stories. And we've told stories for centuries. We've told stories, we tell stories every day. And I think that at this point in time, it was more like they wanted to tell a story that people could relate to culturally. And some of the ways that we chipped in was that a lot of people have been telling epic stories in quotes. It's either they're talking about the Igbo people, the Hausa people, or the Yoruba people. Well, the Hausa, the Northerners do their stories, but they're predominantly Igbo and Yoruba. But nobody's talking about the other minority tribes. And there's so many of them. We have over 250 tribes, so many tribes and cultures. And to some degree, I don't profess myself to be an expert, but I kind of see myself as a griot, I've always been fascinated and been electrified by our history. I don't know much of it, but even some of the little that I've read and I've heard, I'm like, why can't we, use this culture as a backdrop and, push a story out there, for people to, enjoy. But anyway, Africa Magic, they commissioned me to do this piece. And for us, we were like, okay, which tribe do we talk about next? We did the Idoma people some years ago. And then, what are we going to concentrate on next? And and I was talking to somebody and they were talking to me about the Shakiri, the culture. And we started going by from, someone was telling me history about Ginoa and his two sons coming to, Shakiri, talking to me about how, the different kings and, how they passed through and the involvement of the Portuguese and, very interesting, history. And I'm like, okay, why don't we, explore these guys? But what we wanted to do was take it even like further back into history, which is like the 12th century, and then just try to grow the story from there, seeing that yes, the culture was heavily influenced by the Benin people, and then how they formulated their own culture, and how just basically just use that as a backdrop to tell the the entire story. So we got a couple of writers in the room, and then we just came up with Riona, and that's how we started filming, and boom, it's on TV.
How did you get to the point of actually shaping the story? I'm really fascinated by that narrative.
Yeah. So usually what we normally do is in the writer's room, we have a conversation like, what kind of story do we want to tell? I know you didn't start from the beginning, but the story starts from, this king of Otokun who got a prophecy saying that he was going to die by a child born under the dark moon. Yeah. So we started the story from there, saying, okay, how does this king take this news and how does it affect him, throughout?
Yeah, the flashbacks, the interesting thing about it is that anytime you get into it,
you'll understand the story.
Get the story from.
Exactly.
You know where it's coming from.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and there were a lot of new elements that we added into the story because it's fiction. So, for instance, in Shakiri land, there's no such thing as highborn or lowborn.
No.
There's no. But in the story, we added that there because there's a reason why that happened, and as you go along, the story, which I can't say much, you start to understand, why that particular part of the story exists, all for fictional purposes. So, so the writers just came through and said, okay, you know what? Let's get this drama and talk about this particular king who is afraid of death. He wants to rule forever and ever, but he's afraid of death because somebody has given him a prophecy. And then let's now see how this story takes on. And then there are extra characters. We have the Real and the Omajaja, trying to, the Real is fighting for, they need to be free. They need to be free, and so on and so forth. And then these guys are oppressed, and we wanted to mirror the society as we see it now, because whether you like it or not,
we have to relate to it.
We have to relate to it. So there are Nigerians who are like Iriale, and there are Nigerians who are like the Omajaja.
Yeah.
So it's more like a mirror to society to
Yeah.
say, yes, you're watching a TV show, but this is what you are going through in the country currently.
Well, there's somebody who is familiar with myths, with also with the Bible, with history, with literature, and so
Yeah.
on. You cannot but draw parallels.
Yes.
The Post-Rex,
Yes.
Pharaoh,
Yes.
Herod.
Yes.
You see all of these stories.
Even
all of
David.
all of these reverberations.
Yes, yes.
In the story. One wonders whether there were conscious efforts to look at some of those narratives and weave them into the larger tapestry.
Yes. So there's even there's a part of the story. It's gone now. I mean, we've shown it. Which Ofotokun Amaju was his prized warrior.
Yes, yes.
But Amaju was married to Misan.
Yes.
And at some point,
That's
Misan
the story of
David. So
Yes.
Misan comes into the palace
Yes,
and
say,
Ofotokun sees him.
eliminate him.
Yes, eliminate. So, and these are things we talked about in the story workshop. So we're like, you know what? Can we draw parallels from, I mean, even on Ajoche, like there are even parallels from the Bible, like even as Aleche, who is the chosen one, who came to set his people free, all that stuff. People say there's nothing new under the sun. You take things that have happened in history and then put it together in this story because they're trying to reiterate and reinforce a particular thought process. So yes, we did take parallels from a lot of things that have happened in real life, in the Bible, in history, just like you mentioned. So it was deliberate.
Now there's also the question of costuming.
Yeah.
How did you go about the costuming?
So because we took the story to the 12th century, because we had a researcher, there's not much in the most historians would tell you they'll give you a lot of stories from the 15th century, from when Ginoa came, there's all that stuff. But because we wanted to go back further in time, we wanted to be able to have creative freedom. There's not much reference to say, oh, this was what happened and so on and so forth. So what we did was we now borrowed a couple. So we took from the current things that the Shakira we wear today, and then we decided to add our own colors here and there to give it that, beauty. It's sort of like artistic freedom, so that we're allowed to say, yes, it's not like there were cameras in the 12th century, but this is what we think. These people, in fact, in the 12th century, the Shekiris were not called the Shekiris at that time, up until the 15th century. So these people that spoke Ishekiri, who were living at the Benin River, who eventually became Ishekiri, this is their way of life. This is our artistic expression of how they were.
So
that was it.
There were some characters that stand out. In fact, I was discussing with someone, and it was hard to say there's a particular character that is not a good actor there.
Yeah.
There's a certain professionalism that you see with all of them. But I see the characters that stand out. Of course, Opotokun, which is large ego, is impetuousness. That even reminds me of some very strong Shakespearean characters.
Yes.
His deep humanities and pathos, coexisting with a certain ruthlessness and so on. Then you have Asor, which is unremitting heroism. Unremitting heroism, even and a certain Midas touch in spite of that. And then you have Amaju, the ruthless lawyer, who is loyal to the royal.
That's Isha, you mean?
No, Amaju.
Okay, Amaju himself.
Then you have, at this stage, you have Borishe.
Yeah, Shagburishe.
Who is beginning to doubt.
Yes.
At this moment, beginning to doubt his
loyalty
he's
to the throne.
Interlocked. He's so
Yes.
interlocked with the evil
Yeah.
of the throne that we are trying to see how that will unravel. Then we see Shema, who from childhood is a child with an extraordinary defiance.
Yeah.
A certain disrespect for order and regularity.
Yes.
And who has a certain proportion of the spirit to do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
Even the smaller Shema
Same
and
thing.
to the grown-up Shema,
Same thing.
there's a certain symmetry. The characters are so blended. Then Then there's a character that I still have problem with, you know. Aha is kind of soft, is human, but sometimes I see him as too soft for his nobility. He's very noble, but a little too soft for his nobility.
Yeah.
The father has a problem with that, Afotokun, yet there's something about Afotokun in Aha that Afotokun cannot kick aside.
Yeah.
Then you have the stubborn one, Tohu,
yeah.
who is brash, who is actually the rough side of his father.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's the daughter who has all that different. You have so many characters that are playing out in different ways. How is it that you are able to actually blend all of these personalities into a drama in which there's no fear that somebody is out? Even the deputy, the bearded old man who is Omae,
yeah.
who is now at this stage in the process of being upstaged by
Olumaki,
who is a slithering schemer.
Yeah.
You know, he has just come on stage and is still trying to use his sons and everything. How it takes extraordinary scripting, and also directing to put all of this together.
I think the number one thing is performance. There's when you're doing a piece like this, there's something called suspension of disbelief. If I'm watching it from the television, I need to believe these characters. I need to watch Shema and believe that everything she says or everything she does, just like you've explained now, is as real as possible. And to make sure that we get the right actors or to make sure that we get the fact that people can believe it, is to get the right actors. And a lot of them had to go through rigorous auditions. They had to send in tapes. I personally wanted to go beyond that, Joche, to make sure that every character on this show was going to be believable. It's so bad that there are sometimes when I'm watching the show, I'm the guy, I've probably directed a scene on the show, but I'm watching it on TV and I'm feeling bad for the Reale. Or I'm watching it on TV and I want to punch Fotoko in the face. But I was there. I know the script. I know the story. But it's so real, and you know, and the directors had a huge part to play.
There are moments when you feel, why did Amaju die?
Exactly.
Why?
You know, so the directors had to make sure.
When Shema was about to die, I said, what's going to happen? I told somebody, I said, dude, Shema is not going to die. There's something about Shema. Then Atigbi and is it Mr. Oro? And the priest, and they materialized. I said, no, Shema's not going to.
So it's the actors, and you know, if the actors didn't bring their A game, you wouldn't be talking about the show this way. You wouldn't believe it. You would just probably be like, it's drama. And you know,
they call verisimilitude.
Yeah, so they had to choosing the actors. Some of the actors are stage performers. Some of them are, yes, they are TV performers, but they are very good at their craft, and they all prove themselves in terms of auditioning and then reading and so on and so forth. So we had to make sure that whoever it is that we're choosing, and we went through, in fact, with Shema's character, we went through a couple of options. The minute we saw her tape, we were like, this is Shema. You don't need anybody to tell us this is it. The minute of us, in fact, there was an argument within the team, because with our last show, we had, I forgot the king's name, but we had this king, and he was all graceful and you know. So when we saw Frank, who plays Ofotokun, a lot of people were like, everybody was like, oh, they wanted him to be like the king in Ajocha. I said, no. I said, what you are seeing now, that I feel like I need to deviate away from what we have. This king is scared of his life. He's rough, he's scared. He wants to show that, you know, I am king and nobody can define me. And the first few episodes, Frank he established it. And even till today, everybody is on Twitter or Facebook saying,
is it replaceable?
Yeah, like nobody else could have played this role, right? So the thing is, all the actors brought their A game, and the wonderful thing about it is that they all believed in the project. It's one thing to be an actor, it's another thing to believe in the project, which they all did, and that's why we talk about the show as we're talking about it today. You know, so
what was going on in your mind when you heard that there was a little rumpus in the Real Shakira kingdom?
So, as what is happening currently, so apparently somebody sent me a message on WhatsApp, and the guy was like, "Have you seen this? Have you seen this?" Because when the real Ogiame died, I heard about it. Somebody, I mean, I even tweeted about it.
Yeah.
But when this, the crowning and everything happening, somebody sent me a message and I was like, look at what's happening, look at what's happening. I was like, what's going on? They were like, that's what you are doing on TV. It's almost adversely, it's almost affecting what's happening in real life.
I remember calling Frank and this is,
exactly.
As I look, they're looking for your throne, as they're looking for your throne on this.
Exactly. But the good thing about it is, the wonderful thing about the show is that, and I don't want to give too much credence to it, but the truth is that a lot of people are now focusing on the Shakira matters. There are a lot of people that, because of the show, are now like, oh, there's a real Ogiame. Oh, this is what happened. Oh, okay, this is what it is. Oh, this is what's happening. And I feel like that's why we do these shows, for people to not, because to be honest, there are a lot of people that still ask me to today, what language are they speaking on the show? I'm like, it's a Shakira. It's weird for me that they don't know, but the truth is, I didn't know this 3 years ago. But now we're learning more about our culture, learning to understand who these people are, learning, the basic culture, the way they speak, the way they greet, all those things. And we're embracing more about our African and Nigerian culture, which is a good thing.
All right, so what is next?
Well,
I know you're fishing. You're fishing for another traditional. Is it the jukuns or the?
Hopefully, well, let's see what happens. But if something is coming up, you will definitely hear from us.
Good. Well, we've just had James Omokwe, the executive producer of Riona, an extraordinary work of art on television that is still going. Keep tuned to it. You will enjoy it. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much.
And then we'll have two actors, actually, who will now join for the next episode. Thank you very much, James.
Thank you
for being with us.
Thank you so much.
And good luck with the other shows.
Thank you very much.
And I wish that you win all the prizes available anywhere.
Amen.
For this extraordinary gift to drama.
Amen. Thank you very much, sir. God bless you.
Just before the program ends, here is my poem on Real Shakira.
Did you hear of free education, free healthcare, or free movement? These days, Leah, things are freer. On the highway, few enjoy exploring the freedom of movement, except the brave ones who could, bare armed before hooded men like your husband, showcase it, the freedom to die.
Thank you for being on this show today. You can catch up with me on my website, www.samomashaye.com. And until next time, be good.